Our world is full of incredible landscapes to explore, and one of our favourite ways to do this is to hop in a car and drive along the equally stunning roads that lead through them. There's just something about a good road trip that fuels our sense of adventure and wanderlust, driving off into the unknown, never knowing what we'll discover around the next corner. Chile's Carretera Austral is one such road trip, almost 1,250 kilometers of snaking tarmac and gravel track through some of the most beautiful scenery the country has to offer. In our last video, we began this epic 2-week journey from the port city of Puerto, passing through the Chilean fjords on our way to the town of Cochrane, gateway to the popular Pumalin National Park. We diverted off the main road to Futaleufú for more hiking and beautiful scenery before driving down to the small village of Puyuhuapi, where this video starts off from. So if you haven't seen part 1 of our road trip, make sure to go and check that one out first.
If you're new here, we're Kitty and John, and we love to travel and experience new cultures. Whether we're circumnavigating the Scottish Highlands in our car or trekking 80 kilometers to the ancient city of Machu Picchu using the power of our own 2 feet, our passion for travel never seems to fade. We're currently exploring the epic continent of South America and have really fallen in love with the landscapes and the people. So make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell if you'd like to see more content from this amazing part of the world.
So we just spent the night in Puyuhuapi. It's probably the closest town to the hanging glacier. You search for the Carretera Austral, you're bound to see pictures of this really beautiful looking glacier with this waterfall just cascading down from it. The weather today and yesterday, pretty much the entire time since we've been here, is just absolutely poured it down. The forecast for today is also really not that great. I think what we've decided to do is to skip that on the way down, and then hopefully when we come back up past it again on the way back to Puerto, the weather will be a little bit kinder to us and we'll be able to do it maybe like a week's time when we come back up again. As well as the weather, sort of the main trail that goes to the viewpoint of the hanging glacier, I think it's about a 6-kilometer there and back hike, that's actually closed just a little bit too late. They closed it on February 24th. It's March 1st now, so we've just missed the cutoff for that, but they closed it for almost an entire 6 months for maintenance. There's still other ways you can see the glacier though, it's just not quite the same as getting all the way up to it and getting nice and close. On top of the weather, there's that as well, so it kind of all adds up to us having not the best experience at the national park here.
The drive from Puyuhuapi down to Cochrane National Park was gorgeous, with the road winding its way between the channel on one side and the forested mountain on the other. In the end, when we arrived at the national park entrance, the weather was still holding, so we made a calculated gamble and decided to go and see the hanging glacier that day. We knew the weather was coming in behind us, so we rushed to the closest viewpoint of the glacier as fast as we could.
Woo! Can see it! Fairly sure that the Mirador trail that takes you up to the glacier will take you up here somewhere, and then you get a view down into the valley here of the glacier a lot closer. There's another trail that goes along the river here to the lake, so we might try and do that one and see where that takes us. But the view from here is really nice, especially if you have the bigger lens like we do. You get a great view of it anyway.
We ended up getting about 10 minutes to admire the clear view of the glacier before the front that we've been expecting came in and obscured it. The rain started to come down hard, but seeing as we'd paid for our tickets already, we decided to do the short hike along the river to the lake shore. We passed over a beautiful wooden bridge, and you could tell how much rain they've been having due to the intensity of the water rushing below us.
So as we said, the main trail at the moment is closed. I think up until about August 2025 at the moment. Yeah, not going to be doing that one for a while, but if you come next season in December, January, February, it should be a nice new trail. At the moment, the only trail you can do is this one, Laguna Tempanos, which takes you down to the lagoon, or the one we did to start with, the Mirador.
Unfortunately, the views from the lake were pretty non-existent and we were absolutely soaked by this point, so we quickly turned around and headed back to the car, thankful that we at least got a little time to see the hanging glacier. We then drove for the rest of the day through the rain, up and over the very windy Keller Hill, which was much prettier on our return journey when we could actually see some of the surrounding scenery. As we got closer to Coyhaique, the weather did start to get a little better and the landscapes didn't get any less beautiful. Eventually, we made it to the town of Coyhaique, the largest settlement along Carretera Austral if you don't include Puerto obviously. This is a great place to restock on food supplies and anything else you need, as well as take a well-deserved rest day after many long days of driving and activities.
Feeling refreshed, we left Coyhaique with the goal of reaching Puerto Tranquilo by the end of the day. We drove through sunshine and then through rain once again, before reaching the first of two main viewpoints along this stretch of the road. Definitely another spot on the Carretera Austral that if you've ever seen any photos or Googled it, you'll definitely see this spot for sure. Really curvy road that goes down towards Villa Serra Castillo, which is just down in the valley down here, but it's really beautiful. You can just about see the curves. We're glad the visibility's kind of come for us as well, because it was very, very rainy on the way here. Just as we arrived, it sort of cleared a little bit, so we can see down into the valley and the curves. It's also, I believe, one of the final stretches of paved road that we're going to get here on the Carretera Austral. From what I've been reading, as of now, it's sort of early 2025. It is mostly gravel road after Villa Serra Castillo for the last sort of 500 kilometers. It's been a nice ride on the tarmac, but I think from now on we're going to be mostly on the gravel. We drove down the Devil's Hill and onwards through Villa Serra Castillo to the panoramic viewpoint at Mirador Ibanez, otherwise known as the Viewpoint of the Winds. So this is Serra Castillo, the mountain up here. Just about see it through the clouds at the moment. There is like a very popular sort of day hike you can do from Villa Serra Castillo, which kind of I think comes up this ridge all the way along here, and then there's a really turquoise color lake just below the summit. Obviously today would have been the day that we did it, but looking at the weather outside, I'm very glad that we didn't, because it's very hazy up there. Plus, if you can probably hear, the wind is insanely strong just even here, so I can't even imagine what it's like up on the ridge line up there, but the views you're getting from here are really, really spectacular. And then a short distance beyond that viewpoint, here we go. That's it.
I think the pavement is gone.
720 kilometers and the pavement is finished. Still got around 500 kilometers to go before the end of the road, and it's all on gravel.
Oh yes.
We followed this pothole-ridden stretch of road for another 105 kilometers, with the only respite coming when we crossed the various bridges along the way, and eventually made it to the shores of the humongous Lago General Carrera. Puerto Tranquilo sits on the northern shore of the lake, and if you couldn't tell by the ridiculous amount of boats docked on the lake and the countless tour operator shacks lining the street, this town is the starting point for the most popular activity on the Carretera Austral, the Marble Caves tour. We'd booked a tour for the morning, so spent some time watching the sun go down from the lakeside before heading back to our cozy wood cabin for the night.
The next morning we headed back into town early as we booked on the first tour of the day with Marmor Expediciones, who have great reviews online. After signing in and gearing up, we made our way down to the docks and hopped into our boats. The boats are quite large, making this by far the most touristy thing we did during this road trip, but it's popular for a very good reason. We would highly recommend doing this tour in the morning as the conditions on the lake are generally much calmer at the time of the day. We headed across the lake first towards Puerto Sanchez to check out an abandoned boat used for mining purposes in the past. Then we made our way to various stops along the marble caves themselves. The marble caves are a geological marvel formed into surreal shapes and patterns as waves from the lake have slowly eroded them over time. The boat tour took us in and out of some of these caverns, giving us a close-up view of the beautiful patterns and structures. If you're happy to spend a little more money, we'd recommend doing a kayaking tour as it just feels like a more personal way to experience the caves. Plus, you can access some caves that the big boats can't fit in. The most beautiful caves are in and around the Marble Cathedral and Chapel, which is a freestanding rock island seemingly held up by a few small pillars of marble. The patterns and colors here are incredible, and the tour spends a decent amount of time circling around it to give you the best chance of snapping a great photo. After a fantastic morning exploring the marble caves, we headed back up the coastline to Puerto Tranquilo. The goal for the rest of the day was to make it down to Cochrane, 115 kilometers to the south. This section of road actually turned out to be one of our favorites along the entire route as we drove along the western shores of Lago General Carrera before following Rio Baker through some stunning landscapes all the way to Cochrane.
So for anyone wondering what the road conditions are like here, they are very mixed. Since leaving the tarmac, some of the dirt roads have been like really nice and smooth, well compacted, and then others have just been absolutely full of potholes, really loose, big kind of rocks. Thankfully, those sections are shorter. I think for the most part, it's been okay. There's been like potholes in the middle. You can sort of avoid them by being on the outside where the tracks are. Right now, we're on a pretty decent looking road. Like this, I would consider kind of good. Small rocks and very nice and easy to drive on. I'll try at some point to show you what the opposite of that is like, because that's not so much fun to drive on. Nothing too bad so far, nothing that I've been like, oh my gosh, this is horrendous.
Just before reaching Cochrane, we passed the confluence of two major rivers, Rio Baker with its vivid blue water and Rio Nef with its murkier grey colour. After a break to soak in the incredible views, we got a nice surprise a little further up the road.
I thought after Villa Serra Castillo that the tarmac was completely gone, but we were wrong. Coming into Cochrane, I think we're maybe like 20 kilometers or so from Cochrane. We have a tarmac road again. I don't know if it's going to last all the way down to Cochrane. Certainly after Cochrane, I think it will be back to the dirt again, but it's very nice to have tarmac under the wheels again, even just for a little bit, and check out this unbelievable view. I mean, there hasn't been a bad view the entire way down this road, honestly. It's also the entrance to Patagonia National Park, which hopefully we'll be doing a hike in tomorrow, if the weather is okay. Would have been a great day for it today. Look at this. Thank you, Cochrane. You really delivered.
The tarmac finished for a little bit, so we were like, that's it, but then got even better.
They really delivered.
Oh, lovely.
We finally arrived to the final stop before getting to the end of the Carretera Austral. We're in Cochrane, which is probably after Coyhaique, the second biggest town along the Carretera Austral, if you don't include Puerto. How does it feel to be so close to the end?
Yeah, it's crazy that we've we've gotten so far, but it feels like we've been on the road forever.
I know.
It feels like we left Puerto about a month ago. We're just packing so much into one day, especially with all the driving. Before you know it, you're just like so tired by the end of the day.
It does feel like a long time ago since we were in Puerto Montt. We've got one day here in Cochrane where we'll be hopefully spending it in Patagonia National Park. The day after is when we do the final 200 kilometers, or I'm not sure how much it is, down to Villa O'Higgins at the very end of the road. Almost over. On the way down, obviously, we've still got to go all the way back up again. Our first stop of the day was just in front of the entrance to the national park at Mirador La Confluencia, where we got a nice view down to the Rio Baker below and could read some information boards about the area's history. Then we headed along the paved road into Patagonia National Park, passing lots of guanacos on both sides, before arriving to the visitor center to be greeted by even more guanacos. Before setting off out into the park, we had a wander around the detailed museum at the visitor center, which provided lots of useful information about the wildlife and geography of the area. Then we made our way to the trailhead for the Sendero Cañadón Chacabuco. After a pretty rainy morning, the sun has come out for the afternoon. Really surprised actually by how the infrastructure feels very modern. It is Chile's newest national park, which is very surprising when you consider that no other national park has been given the name Patagonia National Park before. They have a really nice welcome center, a lodge, restaurant, a museum that you can look around, included in the price of your entry ticket. A lot of different trails all across the park that you can do. Most popular one is the Lagunas Altas Trail, which is quite long. It's about 23 kilometers round trip, but you do get some amazing views there on a clear day. We didn't feel really up to doing like a 23-kilometer hike today, especially given the weather in the morning. So we're trying to do a couple of short ones. We're doing the Cañadón Chacabuco, which is sort of 5 kilometer out, 5 kilometers back, so 10 kilometers total, out to this suspension bridge that goes across the canyon, the river canyon, and get some nice views as we walk across the steps, see some guanacos, maybe some pumas, who knows. And then later we'll drive further along the road through the national park to another short little hike that gets you up to, I think, one of the more beautiful miradors in the entire national park. The trail across the Patagonian steppe was mostly flat and very easy to follow, with gorgeous views of the mountains all around us. Feeding guanacos roamed across the plains, but the pumas remained sadly elusive. We've arrived at the end of the hike. The culmination of this whole hike is this pretty epic suspension bridge across the Chacabuco River. It's not something you really expect to see in the middle of the national park. Pretty cool, look at this. Pretty crazy. And it's a long way down. The views both ways are insane. Wow. Look at this.
So narrow.
Yeah, not a good one to do if you have a fear of heights, I don't think.
Don't drop anything.
Oh. Very wobbly. Whoa. Don't walk too fast. Oh my gosh. We sat and admired the breathtaking view for a while before heading back across the bridge and following the path back to the car. We began to drive further into the park with the intention of reaching that other viewpoint, and the landscape just got increasingly impressive the further we went. However, the road conditions did start to deteriorate and it was getting a bit later in the day, so in the end we decided to call it quits and turned around and headed back out of the park. We definitely regret not having an extra day to explore Patagonia National Park though, as it was so beautiful and there were so many trails that we didn't get to do. So we'd recommend spending maybe 3 nights in Cochrane so that you can fully explore Chile's newest national park. Alright, so this is it. The final 300 kilometers until we get to Villa O'Higgins. Day 14, so it's been literally 2 weeks since we left and we're about to finish this road trip at last. There's like one stop along the way first, Carretera Austral. It's supposed to be a really nice pretty town, so we're going to aim to stop there for lunch and then finish the day by heading on down to Villa O'Higgins. Exciting.
And the pavement is ending right here. No, literally as you get out of the town, the pavement ends.
Oh no, it's still tarmac, actually.
It's not so bad actually.
On our final day driving the Carretera Austral down to Villa O'Higgins, we finally get an absolutely gorgeous day. And look at this amazing scenery, oh my gosh. It's like we're sort of in a hurry because we have to take a ferry today and there's only 5 times that the ferry crosses across the lake that we need to get across today. So we're kind of in a little bit of a rush, especially because we need to stop at the Carretera Austral as well, and we have to get to the end of the road after we arrive in Villa O'Higgins, which is a little bit further down the road from Villa O'Higgins. It's nice that it's really nice, but it also makes you want to stop every 2 seconds to take pictures and videos. So ironic that on the day where we're in the most rush, it's the most beautiful. But we are not complaining at all.
Not long before we reached the final ferry port at Coyhaique, we could take a side road down to Carretera Austral. This coastal village sits within a bay along the Baker Channel and is one of the most unique settlements we've ever been to.
Feel like when I was first researching the Carretera Austral, Carretera Austral was definitely one of the highlights for me, one of the things I was most excited about, and so far it's not disappointing. It's super cute. These wooden walkways are basically the streets here, like the cars can only go so far and then you're just walking along all these beautiful wooden walkways to get to where you want to go. There's this beautiful coastal area you can walk along with the town just behind me in the back. Kind of moody with the clouds this morning as well. It's a really, really beautiful place. It's definitely not disappointing.
After about an hour or so of wandering along the beautiful wooden walkways that crisscross the hills surrounding the bay, we started to make our way back to the car. A short time later, we arrived at Carretera Austral and reversed our car onto the third and final ferry of the trip, which would take us across the channel to Rio Bravo.
So it's definitely the smallest ferry that we've been on over the 3 ferries that we've taken. There's literally only 4 cars on here, including ours. 1, 2, 3 and 4. When I was researching this ferry, it seems like they go every 2 hours on the even hours, so from like 10, 12 to 4, 6, 5 times during the high season. But we just rolled up here at around 11 o'clock and there was already a ferry here waiting, admittedly a very small one. There was also a bigger ferry there, so I don't know if that one goes as well or if it's just this little one that does the trip, because to only take 4 cars seems like not very many. This ferry is free, so you don't have to pay for this one, which is great. It's like the final stretch down to Villa O'Higgins after this, another 2 hours of driving. I think one of the most surprising things for us coming down this far is that the road quality has actually gotten better probably the further down the road we've come. Totally expecting it to be the opposite, like the road to get worse and worse the further down the carretera you come. But it kind of makes sense, I think, when you think about it. The section of road that was the worst was the one between Villa Castillo and Puerto Tranquilo, which is probably the most traveled section of dirt road because a lot of people come down there to do the marble caves in Puerto Tranquilo. From Puerto Tranquilo to Cochrane, it was kind of like a little bit better. There was still quite a few potholes in areas, but altogether the road was definitely better than the previous section. And then from Cochrane to Villa O'Higgins, which is the section we're on now, it's been really good road, like really compacted dirt, not a lot of potholes at all, a lot of gravel. Even the passes, like the uphill climbs, which are usually the worst, have been pretty good. So this is just my theory, but I think it's at least partly because this section of road is a lot less traveled than the initial one to Puerto Tranquilo. It doesn't get as much traffic, it doesn't develop as many potholes, and it stays a bit nicer. It's been a pleasant surprise because we were fully expecting it to be really bad down here.
This was certainly the quietest section of the Carretera Austral that we drove on, as we hardly saw any other cars or people after getting off the ferry. It was what we had been searching for from the start of the trip, that feeling of pure escapism, of getting way off the beaten path and well-trodden tourist trail and discovering some of the most breathtaking and lesser visited landscapes in the whole of Chile. Still not the end of the road though.
The last town on the road.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna try and find our place, check in, and then after we've checked in, dropped our bags, we're gonna head to the very end of the road.
Villa O'Higgins is a tiny settlement at the end of the Carretera Austral. Its quaint wooden buildings are surrounded by spectacular scenery, and there are actually quite a few hiking options with the nearby Parque Glacier Moscow, although we just didn't have the time on this trip. After dumping our bags at our accommodation, we had a quick wander around the town square and surrounding streets before driving the final 7 kilometers of the Carretera Austral to the true end of the road.
We have made it to the end of the Carretera Austral.
Well done.
We did it. 1,247 kilometers later.
And now we have to do the whole thing again, starting tomorrow morning.
In 4 days, not 2 weeks. The video might be over, but the journey for us is only halfway done. It is very surreal to be here. 1,247 kilometers. And on the other side, 0 kilometers. We're starting again, all the way back to Puerto Montt. From here, I believe you can take a ferry across this lake to a point where you can then hike over to another ferry, which will take you directly to Chalten, or close to Chalten in Argentina. With a car, I think it's not possible. Certainly if you're backpacking or cycling or something, you can probably head from here to Chalten and carry on. The end of the road is swarming with mosquitoes though, so you can't hang around for long.
Just want to take some.
Let's go again. Kilometer 0. Here we go. It did indeed take us 4 days to travel back up the Carretera Austral to Puerto Montt. For those of you thinking of doing the same thing, after spending the night in Villa O'Higgins, we drove all the way back up to Puerto Guadal, which sits roughly halfway between Cochrane and Puerto Tranquilo. This road actually continues across to the Argentine border, so is the best way to head into Argentina from the south if you're just doing the Carretera Austral one way. The next day we drove from Puerto Guadal to Villa Manizales, and the following day we made it all the way back up to Chaiten. Here you can either take the ferry directly back to Puerto Montt or return to Hornapieren via the double ferry, which is what we did on our 4th day. And from there it was just a short drive back to Puerto Montt. The Carretera Austral road trip is definitely not for everyone. You have to be confident driving on some pretty poor road conditions and be able to accept the fact that you're going to have maybe pretty shoddy internet connection and access to a few less amenities than you normally would have on these kind of road trips. This road will definitely challenge you and sometimes make you wonder what you've gotten yourself into. But for those of you who are up for a challenge, the Carretera Austral is hands down one of the most beautiful roads on the planet. The people of southern Chile are by far some of the most friendly and welcoming people we have ever met, and the scenery will just take your breath away from start to finish. Thanks for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure to give it a like, as it really helps out our channel, and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content from this beautiful part of the world. We also have a travel blog where we go into way more detail about all of the locations featured in our videos, so if you'd like to learn a little bit more about some of the locations featured on this channel, make sure to head on over using the link in the description. Otherwise, we'll catch you right back here for our next adventure.